Joining us now for this week's Know Your Enemy, it's Bryce Leslie from the Feathers and Field Goals podcast covering the Delaware Blue Hens. We'll have a bunch of questions for him. Bryce, thanks for joining us, man.
Jake, thanks so much for reaching out to me. I've enjoyed watching DNVR in this upcoming, not just this week, but all preseason to learn more about the Buffaloes myself heading into week 2. And it's an honor to be with you guys today.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you. Let's just start with the quarterbacks. Marker goes down. I mean, I know he dealt with some injuries last year. You guys played, I think, 3 quarterbacks last year. Now Minakuchi is back behind center. Just what can you tell us about him and, how he played last year for the Blue Hens, what you saw against Delaware State last weekend?
Yeah, it's been a quarterback carousel for the Blue Hens these past 3 years. Like you said, they've had 3 quarterbacks and the past, not just 2024, but 2023 as well. It started out both seasons with Ryan O'Connor, who both years had season-ending injuries, stepped away from the game before the 2025 camp, and Marker was the next man up for that. And 23 season-ending injury in the same game as O'Connor, right before the FCS playoffs in 23, actually, and then 24 was redshirting to prepare for 2025. And then, like you just mentioned, second series of the season goes down with a leg injury, and I just totally feel for him. He's been waiting for this opportunity to really lead this program in his first season at FBS. That's been the plan for the program for the past couple of years now. And but the good thing for the Hens in this situation is Nick Minakuchi, like you mentioned, in all 3 years has had to step in and gain experience leading the offense. He jumped in. His first career start in 2023 was the first round of the FCS playoffs for the Blue Hens against Lafayette. And, he's a guy that can just run the offense pretty well. The Delaware, they like to get the ball out quick. They run a lot of RPOs. They like to spread the ball out. He's someone that can, if the play takes a while to develop, can step out and run himself. He led the team in rushing in the opening game against Delaware State. He scored the first touchdown on a design quarterback draw. He's somebody that can throw, but it can also use his legs when needed.
Bryce, I'm curious. A lot of teams talk about identity, right? And obviously it's super early in the season. Both these teams only played 1 game. But I'm curious from your perspective, I guess as a program or maybe as an offense or defense, does this team have an identity? And if so, what is it? And if not, is it still something that this program is still searching for at the moment?
I think the staff's answer for this is going to say that they can do a little bit of everything. They can run it. They can pass it. On the defensive side, they can stop the run. They can stop the pass. I think that's their message. And I think, looking at years past and head coach Ryan Carty's system in their 4th year, it's something that they do like to do a little bit of everything. They don't like to just follow one avenue. They don't like to rely on, one pass catcher or one defensive coverage. They do run on defense a 3-3-5 shell. So they run a very heavy cover 3 in the back end. On offense, like I said, they like to get the ball out quick. And I'd say their identity is just really experience. The program with this move announced in late fall 2023 really recruited and built up the program to have it, going up to a higher level competition to really use his experience. On the offensive side of the ball, there's only one new starter to the program from last season, starting right tackle and Noah Roshak, transferring from Syracuse. On the defensive side of the ball, I believe there was only one new starter as well from Kentucky and defensive end Noah Matthews. So I think their identity is just really utilizing. I think this is the last year of using those 5th or 6th years, the COVID, the redshirt years, as a lot of these players. I started school in Delaware in 2019. It feels like I started school with a lot of these guys myself, starting with the program. So I think their identity and what they're really going to rely on this year is they don't really have to learn a lot about themselves. They're just going to have to learn a lot about their opponents on a weekly basis.
Gotcha. First of all, thanks for making us all feel old up here. Secondly, what's the vibe of the Delaware fan base right now, coming off of last week and also going into this game? Like, how are people feeling? What are they expecting?
I would say heading into this season, the fan base you've really felt the electricity around Newark. I think this move to FBS has been a long time coming. It's a flagship university in the state of Delaware. They enter Conference USA with one of the best athletic budgets already, top 2 to 3 athletic budget in all of the conference. student section wise, heading into the first game was the most attended student game in history, and season tickets, the highest sold tickets in the past decade for the program. And in the past decade, they've made 2 FCS championships, and they've been pretty strong in the past. So it's been very electric heading into it. I think after finishing week 1, heading into week 2, I think expectations maybe came down a little bit. That they playing against Delaware State, and in years past it was 11-0 to Delaware and head-to-head. I think a lot of fans expected, with now being titled an FBS team, that they're going to come in and kind of run away with it. And I was listening to your guys' show, and like you said, the first play of the game was almost an interception on a screen pass, and it took a little bit to get going for the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, giving up 200 yards to Delaware State, one of the lower tier programs in FCS in the years past. So I think expectations maybe reset a little bit, but I know heading out to Boulder this week and Folsom Field, this has been something on a lot of fans' bucket lists. I know a lot of fans are making vacations out of this entire week. They're super excited to get up in that environment, get in that altitude, and just enjoy their Hens on a national stage now.
Bryce, what can you tell us about the head coach, Ryan Koenigsberg? Just kind of, what are some of like the calling cards that he wants this program to be known for? Just what is his mentality? What kind of guy is he? Is he more, hands-on the offense, defense? Is he more CEO type? What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, Ryan Koenigsberg was actually a former quarterback for the program as well. He was actually very close with Joe Flacco, was on the program at the same time as Flacco was. Those two are still very close today. Started his coaching career on the offensive side of the ball, was the quarterback's coach in New Hampshire, then eventually ended up in Sam Houston as their offensive coordinator and won an FCS championship there. And I think following his career path, he was kind of working his way up to eventually become an offensive coordinator for a Power 4 school. But then this opportunity opened up to come back to his alma mater and run the program without FBS in sight. It was still a dream come true for him. And I think when you're talking about him being a CEO, I don't know if he really saw himself being that. I think his love is for the offensive side of the ball. He, in his 4th season now, is still the play caller, has an offensive coordinator, but still controls the playbook. And you're going to see a really up-tempo offense. Maybe in this environment in Folsom Field, they're going to want to, they're going to have their play sheet that first drive, and they're going to want to just go after it and try to not, let the crowd build up in Folsom on big third downs. They're going to move the ball quick. A team that doesn't really control the time of possession because they like to get going, and they like to run that no huddle and go after explosive plays. I think that's Delaware started really slow week 1 because they're missing a lot of explosive plays. And I know you guys probably all saw that one-handed catch in that Miami Notre Dame game, but new receiver for Delaware, Kyrie Duplessis, transfer from Coastal Carolina, had a one-handed catch himself down the right side of the field that really sparked the offense. And after that catch, scored touchdowns in 4 of their last 5 possessions after that. So they're going to look for explosive plays. They're going to look to move fast, especially in an environment like Colorado's.
Bryce, we know a little bit about the quarterback, Nick Minicucci, and you talked about one of his weapons there. Who are some of the other weapons on this Delaware offense that are going to be counted on and kind of be used in different ways to kind of get this offense moving?
Yeah, the program has lost 2 NFL caliber players in the past year on the offensive side of the ball. And running back Marcus Yarns was an undrafted free agent for the Saints and worked with them through preseason. And wide receiver Phil Lutz, who was a really fun story, started in Division III and worked his way as a walk-on, eventually a full scholarship player for the Blue Hens. And those two were kind of the driving forces of the production on offense in 2024. And heading into this year, it was kind of a lot of question marks. Are they going to rely on 1 or 2 guys? Are they going to go for more spread offense? I think the name that is getting a lot of recognition to start is running back Joe Silver. He's in his 4th year in the program now as well. It was kind of that first person getting touches after Yarns in years past. And he really stepped in, and he did have a fumble in game 1, but he's someone that they're going to try to feed the ball as much as they can, both in the backfield and as a pass catcher as well. Another name to look out for is Michigan transfer Jake Thaw. He transferred in from 2023. He was a walk-on. He was actually the punt returner for Michigan. If you remember in the in the playoffs for them. Their punt returner, it dropped that ball but recovered it within the one. That was Jake Thaw, and he's come in as a full scholarship player now as well. And he's was second in the team in receiving yards last year, had a big 50-yard touchdown in week 1 to seal the game. He's someone that I always kind of compare. My dad's a Raiders fan. I'm sure you guys won't like that over in Bronco country, but he always would say when Hunter Renfrow was there, it was third and Renfrow. And I think Jake Thaw is kind of their version of that, somebody that they're going to look at right around beyond the sticks and to get that first down. So that's another name to look out for as well.
I asked this to everyone we have this conversation with, so I'll ask it to you as well. In your opinion, Delaware can win this game if they do what?
This is a very complicated question here for Delaware heading into Colorado, because you start with Delaware State, a team that you're a little bit more faster, stronger, more talented in every position. You have a little bit more room for margin of error, and then you're going in and flipping the script almost. You're coming into an environment that you're really going to have to create turnovers. I think in years past, in Ryan Carty's tenure in his 4th years, I think in week 1 added onto it, they're 20-0 in his tenure when they've won the turnover battle. So it's not going to start unless their defense can start turnovers. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be limiting plays. It's going to be special teams as well. I talked to the special teams group, kicker Nate Reed and punter Brendan Locke before the season on what game they're looking forward to the most, and it was Colorado because of that altitude. They're ready to kick the ball out there, and I think field position is really important in this game. And I think Colorado with a program so talented, and there's a lot of newcomers on that side. And I was talking about the experience for Delaware. I think if they have a shot to stay in this game, especially getting through the first 30 minutes when the nerves are at its highest, those first few plays even, it's going to become relying on that experience. Colorado's learning more about themselves than Delaware at this point, so I think they're going to have to find ways to win in preparation that way. You really don't have to prepare yourselves as much as the other team, where I think Colorado's really getting themselves. So I think there's a lot more to that, but that's some of the things they have to target on is to just start out early and try to hang around once the nerves kind of settle in and to let the game flow kick off more.
Awesome, Bryce. Thank you so much for joining us, man. Let the people know where they can find your words and work out on the internet.
Yeah, thanks so much again for having me. I love this collaboration, between different media platforms and DNVR. You guys do amazing work, not just for Colorado, but all the programs and professional sports out there. And you can find me over at SSN_Delaware. I do all of my work at Feathers and Field Goals. This summer, we've elevated our platform to not just a podcast, but we also do all of our writing there as well. So I do all of my work on a weekly basis over there, and online, you can find us at feathersandfieldgoals.com, and then online at feathersfgspod. So again, thanks so much for having me. And I know a lot of the fans are excited to, I think now recording on a Wednesday, a lot of fans are starting to get ready to get on flights over here from BWI and Philly out there. So I know a lot of Blue Hens fans are excited to be in your environment.
Awesome, man. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate it, Bryce. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, Bryce. Take care, bro.